Kent Rogers on the phone with us this morning with the Northwest Louisiana Council on Governments. I always mess that up.
Of government.
Of government. Man, I mess that up every time. Kent, thanks for joining.
NLCOG, for sure.
NLCOG, yeah. I got two texts yesterday afternoon. I'm sorry I didn't text you last night, but I crashed and I just slept through the night. With regard to somebody at state government holding up the inner city connector study, and fingers were pointing at Billy Nungesser, the lieutenant governor, because of a historic park. What can you tell us about it? What's going on? What is the holdup and the delay?
The how Nungesser would fit into the picture is the SHPO office, State Historic Preservation Office, falls under the lieutenant governor. All projects have to go through them, through some review, and it's just a very, very cumbersome process to work through the SHPO office and the cultural resource surveys and reports that have to be done. For the 49 project in specific, that report is over 1,000 pages long. Part of the issues or part of the things that we ran into with that project, they're out doing surveys of properties and whatnot, and during that process, they literally had 3 buildings burned down, which means they had to go back and rework those properties and basically submit stuff to SHPO's office to prove that those buildings had burned down. Their records had shown some historic properties within the corridor that were actually, one of them was close to a half mile, close to a mile away from the corridor. We had to go through a process of just surveying and, proving to them, no, this property is not within this corridor.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a very, very cumbersome process to work through.
It's just a matter of getting through the paperwork. It's not that anyone's holding it up.
Not that anyone's holding it up. It's just an extremely cumbersome process, and there's got to be a way to streamline it, to fix it. It's not just the cultural part. It's the whole NEPA process. There's flaws throughout the whole process that need fixed.
Okay. The latest on the routes, are we set on our final route yet?
We have recommended, the MPO recommended build alternative 1 as the locally preferred alternative.
Tell people where that goes. What does that do?
That's the portion that travels through the inner city, hangs, I guess you could say, hangs a slight left around Ford, and then goes up and ties into the interchange that's being completed for 49 North at 220 currently.
What properties does it impact the most?
Well, several of them. Basically, the biggest number of properties would be the properties between, I want to make sure I get it right because I still call it the Allen Western pair. I guess that's Pete Harris and Allen Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
Up through that block, there'd be the new Renaissance property right there at the 20 interchange. A few of the properties with the Fuller Center properties, but most of that between those two are pretty much adjudicated properties.
Are you coordinating with the mayor's office? She just announced a big federal grant for homes in that area. Are we coordinating to make sure we don't build new homes in that path?
That's part of the Choice Neighborhood Grant. Yes,
okay.
We were actually, us and Community Development and the Housing Authority were actually the original grantees for the HUD Choice Neighborhood Grant.
Okay.
And that was kind of the purpose, was to make sure that all these different players tried to work together.
And this would be some houses that these folks might be relocated to that are being displaced, correct?
Could be.
Still a long way from that, though?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. We're hoping to have, just to give a quick update, we're hoping to have the final drafts of all this work submitted to DOTD and Federal Highways latter part of this year, hoping that we can get them out for public comment during the second quarter of next year, and then that way we can have the public hearing and get this thing put to bed. once and for all.
Kent, how's the funding looking?
Not good at this point. We have, but that's typical of every project. You got to get through this process before you can really keep moving into that next realm. We do have one funding stream, which is the Unclaimed Properties Act, that provides funding for I-49 North and I-49 South, roughly $7.5 million a year. That's been in place roughly 10 years now, 10, 12 years now. I don't remember the exact date. So it's been accumulating some money. There would be other federal and state dollars to go towards it. There have been some groups that have approached me about some public-private partnerships along this corridor that would bring in funding to get it done quicker.
Raised highway, or is it going to be ground?
Great majority of it is elevated, but not elevated like the portions from Burt Coons up. It won't be sitting on a wall. It'll all be open up underneath and whatnot so that you can keep the connectivity of the local street system underneath.
Okay. Let me ask you this, Kent, and you and I, when our great-grandchildren are running around Shreveport hanging out together, will we be thrilled that we built this interstate through our city? Isn't this a real integral part to the growth of our city?
I don't believe we will see the true benefits of the other two pieces of 49 without this piece. And I don't believe we will see the true benefits of the whole corridor without it. So, yeah, it'll help a lot. I think it'll help downtown a lot, too, providing some additional access into downtown. If you look at crash reports and things happening, I mean, y'all talk about traffic every day in the morning, getting off at the Spring Market exit coming in from Bossier or going the other direction and how bad that area is. This would provide some additional access into the downtown area and relieve some of that problem.
Kent Rogers, NLCOG, thank you so much for your time this morning. We appreciate you clearing some of that up.
No problem.
Thanks a bunch.